You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Shopify. When I started this podcast, I really did have to figure it out all on my own. Scripts, setup, schedules, logos. It was and sometimes can still be very overwhelming. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out but simplifies everything is such a game changer. And for millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of e-commerce in the US, from household names like Chamberlain Coffee and Rare Beauty to brands just getting started. They make it easy to get started with your own design studio. They have hundreds of ready-to-use templates to help you build an online store that matches your brand style. You can also get the word out like you have an entire marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. Start your business today with the industry's best business partner, Shopify, and start hearing. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/justice. Go to shopify.com/justice. That's shopify.com/justice.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised.
My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today I'm discussing the case of Nancy Guthrie. This is a case that's drawn a lot of attention, a lot of theories, and honestly, a lot of speculation. You guys have asked me to cover it more times than I can count. And I understand why. Nancy's case has all the pieces that make people want to keep digging. A beloved woman vanishes from a quiet neighborhood. The scene inside her home raises immediate red flags. And nearly every detail seems to lead to another question. But I really want to slow that down. Because when a case has been discussed this much, it can start to feel like the theories have become the story. And my goal today is to cut through as much of that as possible and get back to what we actually know. What's been confirmed, what's been reported, what Nancy's family has said, what law enforcement has said, and what remains unanswered. And that is especially important because this case is still moving. In fact, less than 24 hours before recording this episode, there have been new updates. So if you think you've heard every podcast, read every post, and followed every thread about this case, there is new information to talk about. Let's go through the facts, the timeline, and the investigation. This is the case of Nancy Guthrie. It's about 5 p.m. on Saturday, January 31st, 2026, and 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie is at her home in the Catalina foothills area of Tucson, Arizona. She's waiting for an Uber to take her to her daughter Annie's home for dinner. Annie lives just a few miles away with her husband, Tommaso Cioni. They're both in their 50s and live with their 12-year-old son, and they are a major part of Nancy's daily support system. Nancy's other daughter, Savannah, said that no one took better care of their mother than Annie and Tommaso. They actually moved to the Catalina foothills area specifically to be closer to Nancy. And it really is a great area of Tucson. Nancy seemed to love it. She'd been in that area for over 50 years. While the city is typically known for being very hot and the home of the University of Arizona, northeast of the city where Nancy lives is definitely not known for broke college kids. Her community is at the base of the Santa Catalina Mountains, really away from the chaos of the city. And that demographic skews a lot older and wealthier than most of the city. They have about 53,000 residents with a median age of 55 and a household income of $115,000. It's known for the quiet neighborhoods, mountain views, resorts, country clubs, golf courses, and luxury homes. So it's a very nice place to live. I have to imagine that Annie thought it would be a great place to raise her son when her family made the move. According to statements from family members, when Annie moved her family to be closer to her mom, Nancy, she and Tommaso would help monitor her medical concerns and conditions, along with things like mobility and just routine social support. Again, Nancy is 84, and she has a pacemaker. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos noted that Nancy couldn't walk 50 yards without assistance, and her daughter Savannah said that on a good day, she might be able to walk to the mailbox, but that was a rare occurrence. So while Nancy is living independently in her own home, she did have family support just a few miles away. She also had a robust community of support around her. Nancy's been described as sharp as a tack, and is extremely active in her congregation at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. Despite her mobility issues, she's also a part of a group of women who walk the Catalina Foothills neighborhood together. She is extremely involved in her community, the type of woman who knows her neighbors and keeps as active as possible. So it's no surprise that Nancy's spending that Saturday night out of the house at her daughter Annie's. She has dinner with Annie, Tommaso, and her grandson. An Uber drops her off at Annie's at exactly 5:32 p.m. But this is a one-way Uber trip. After dinner, her son-in-law Tommaso drives Nancy home. It takes about 2 minutes. He pulls into her driveway at about 9:48 p.m. He said he waits and watches Nancy walk inside the home before driving away. The following morning, on Sunday, February 1st, Nancy's expected at a friend's house to watch an online church service. According to reporting by Stephanie Price for Fox News, who spoke exclusively with a source close to the Guthrie family, during the COVID pandemic, Nancy and her friends began gathering at each other's homes to watch a live stream of a church service based in New York. It was actually the same church that her other daughter, Savannah Guthrie, attended, which has to be one of the sweetest things I've ever heard. But according to this source, they just continued this tradition of watching the live stream into 2026. Nancy never missed a Sunday with the group. Until today. And her friends immediately knew that something was wrong and that she could need some type of help. So according to Sheriff Nanos, at about 11 a.m., they call Annie. At 11:56 a.m., Annie and Tommaso arrive at Nancy's house to check on her. 7 minutes later, they call 911 at 12:03 p.m. to report her missing to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. About 10 minutes later, deputies were on the scene. And that scene made one thing clear. Nancy hadn't left of her own accord. Something terrible had happened. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Quince. It is summer in Phoenix, y'all, which means every single day it's getting hotter. That also means a completely different wardrobe for me. And Quince has exactly what I need. Breathable linen, soft organic cotton, washable silk, all the luxury without the markup. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. And it's not just clothing. Quince has really become a destination for elevated essentials across home, kitchen, bedding, and beyond. You guys, I feel like I've tried every category across Quince. I've had their washable silk pillowcases. I've had items for my home. I've had travel accessories, purses, and of course, a ton of clothing. But what I reach for every single day in the summer are my Quince linen dresses and my cotton tank tops. Not only are they lifesavers, but they just look amazing. Especially my linen dresses. I can throw them on with a pair of wedges and instantly look polished. Elevate your summer wardrobe. Go to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by TaskRabbit. I don't know about you guys, but I have a to-do list that seems to be never ending. Especially because I am constantly fixing up my house, I'm constantly looking for cool vintage pieces, and really just trying to make it my oasis. That's when I turn to TaskRabbit. If you aren't familiar with TaskRabbit, they connect you with skilled taskers in your area for moving, furniture assembly, home repairs, yard work, mounting, and more. You can search for a tasker based on cost, skill set, availability, and past client reviews. That way you know exactly who's showing up. I've used TaskRabbit for years. Most recently, I needed a TV mounted, and try as I might, I could not get it level to save my life. So I went to TaskRabbit. Someone came out, and they had it up within 30 minutes looking perfect. Sometimes I just need a little bit of help. When life happens, your to-do list grows. Get ahead of it now and get $15 off your first task at TaskRabbit.com or on the TaskRabbit app using promo code VOICES. Taskers book up fast, especially for same-day tasks. So book trusted home help today. That's $15 off your first task using promo code VOICES with the TaskRabbit app or at TaskRabbit.com. Let's talk about Nancy's house. She's been in it for decades. It appears since 1975 when it was last sold just 6 years after it was built. It's 1 story, 5 bedrooms, and 4.5 baths, just under 4,000 square feet on about an acre of land. That's what the real estate listings say, though some reporting says it was about an acre and a half. Either way, it's a Spanish-style brick home with mostly desert landscaping, but there's also a patch of grass and a pool. Being from Arizona, it looks pretty standard to me for the older and nicer homes near the mountains. While it was purchased for about $85,000 back in the 1970s, it's worth just over $1 million today. So it's clearly a very nice home. But just for some context, it's not on the level of the $5 million mansions nearby. I say that because I've seen a lot of discussion about how rich Nancy is because of her home. So I really just wanted to lay out this context here. She's owned it since the 70s, and it's gone up in value. It really just seems like a smart buy versus an indication of extreme wealth like you see with some of her neighbors. Now, I obviously have no personal insight on Nancy's finances. It seems clear she was comfortable, but her home was nowhere near the most expensive in the neighborhood, which I do think is important to discuss as we go into potential motives in this case. To be very blunt, if the goal was a simple robbery, there were much more expensive homes to target, which leads some people to believe that this was either personal or motivated by a potential ransom. Of course, we will dive deep into all the theories. But now that you understand more about Nancy's home, let's get into the scene the Pima County Sheriff's Department walks into on February 1st, 2026. Nancy's back doors were propped open. According to one report, they were held open with her planters. Nancy's car was still in the garage. Some reports say it's a Subaru, possibly a Forester. But what we know for sure is that all her essential items were left behind, including her hearing aid, wallet, and purse, the heart medication she took daily, and her cell phone, which was used to monitor her pacemaker. These are things Nancy really needs. Of course, the most alarming, though, were the drops of blood found on the front steps of the home. In that same area, Nancy's Google Nest doorbell camera was also missing. Now, her front door has a metal security gate with bars where the camera was attached, but when deputies got to the scene, the camera was missing with only the mount remaining on the door. But inside of Nancy's home was described as impeccable, with no obvious signs of a robbery or attempted robbery. That's really all they're telling us at this point. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos described the scene as very concerning and inconsistent with a voluntary disappearance. But after evaluating the scene, the searches for Nancy began. The Sheriff's Department started with their standard search and rescue team. They were treating this with urgency, but they also understood that Nancy's limited mobility meant she couldn't have gotten very far on her own. But that search grew very quickly, more quickly than most. There were hundreds of volunteers, investigators, and searchers with approximately 100 patrol cars on the scene. They had search dogs from the Sheriff's Department. They had units from U.S. Border Patrol. In the air were helicopters, planes, drones with heat sensors, and infrared cameras for searches into the night. Investigators went door to door asking for surveillance footage and did extensive desert searches. This was an all-hands-on-deck situation like I've never covered before. When I say every resource was utilized to look for Nancy, I mean it. It's a topic that we just can't avoid in this case. Nancy got special treatment, though I'd argue it shouldn't be special for anyone. Every missing person deserves these resources. But Nancy does have a special connection that I'm sure most of you are aware of. I mentioned her daughter Savannah Guthrie earlier in the episode. She's been a main co-host of the Today Show since 2012. In short, she's a very popular TV personality. So her mom's case was and is being treated as a priority above others. Again, I'm really not trying to pick on anyone, but that's the reality that I don't think is responsible to avoid discussing. I think it's also important to lay this out so you can fully understand the theories in this case, along with statements from law enforcement who often mention Savannah. But due to all these factors, Nancy's case became viral on the internet almost instantly, and the Pima County Sheriff's Department held a press conference the very next day with Sheriff Chris Nanos leading the charge.
I believe it was around noon yesterday, we got a call to the Guthrie residence that Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, was missing. We expended a lot of resources for a missing person that we typically always do. Our search and rescue volunteers, our search and rescue teams, other agencies, Borstar from Border Patrol sent their canines out. They worked tirelessly all day yesterday and all day tonight. All day yesterday and all last night to no avail. As I said yesterday, we saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we process that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime, and we're asking the community's help. This community has always stepped up to help us solve some pretty tough crimes. I'm looking for that again. This is a 84-year-old lady who suffers from some physical ailments, has some physical challenges, is in need of medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal. So we make a plea to anyone who knows anything about this, who has seen something, heard something, to contact us. Call 911. We don't need another bad, tragic ending. We need some help.
By February 2nd, Nancy's case seemed to have nearly every department and tool available aiding the investigation. The Pima County Sheriff's Department was assisted by the Tucson PD, FBI, ATF, Border Patrol, and ICE, along with some smaller agencies as well. While he urged the public to call in with any tips they may have, he described their efforts to access license plate readers and cameras throughout the community and city. He actually makes some pretty strong statements about the power of AI technology in assisting in cases like this. He does take questions, but the answers are limited. He discusses Nancy's limited mobility, says that he has all of his criminal investigation detectives working the case, some going door to door looking for information. He also makes it clear that all of Nancy's family has been very cooperative with law enforcement. But really, at this first press conference, he's pretty tight-lipped. Reporters ask if there were any signs of forced entry. Was it a targeted attack? Is the public at risk? And he gives pretty vague answers. When asked if there were cameras at the home, though, he does answer in the affirmative, saying they are, quote, looking through some of that, end quote. He also confirms that they are looking into Nancy's cell phone, which we know was left behind at her home. At this point, he says the search and rescue team was sent home to get some rest after looking for Nancy all night long. He reiterates that in addition to boots on the ground, they had aerial support through drones, aircraft, helicopters, heat sensors, infrared. He said they threw everything they had into the search for Nancy. And he adds that he would call them out again to do more searching. But at this point, the investigation has shifted from a search and rescue mission to focusing on the crime scene. They reiterate that Nancy did not have dementia and wouldn't have wandered off, that she also didn't really have the physical capabilities to wander that far at all. A reporter also asks about Nancy's daughter, Savannah. The sheriff confirms that they have been in touch with her security team, but they don't really go into further details. They also appeal to the public for help. They ask Nancy's neighbors to go through any video surveillance they may have for anything suspicious or any person or vehicle who may have traveled through the area. They do confirm that they'll be speaking with anyone working on Nancy's home on a regular basis, really alluding to landscapers and possibly a cleaning service. But that's really all we got from this press conference. It's clear that there's a massive effort to locate Nancy, but we don't get a ton of intricate details. So the media storm began. Theories began exploding about Nancy being taken for a possible ransom the kidnapper or kidnappers might ask Savannah to pay. I mean, it did seem like the most plausible theory at this point. Nothing appeared to be missing from the home except for Nancy, a woman in her 80s who was well loved in her tight-knit community. So investigators and the public were racking their brains to come up with a motive. Then, a local news station received a ransom note with information that hadn't been made public. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you probably know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products to choose from, and really they're from all the brands that my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and is even rolling out vet clinics across the country. Whenever the dogs need something new, especially a toy to keep them busy in the summer months, I run to Chewy. They have an excellent curated selection that I know is going to deliver every time. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details.
Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
That nobody gives.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
At 6:42 p.m. on Monday, February 2nd, just hours after the Pima County Sheriff's Department held that press conference, Tucson CBS news station KOLD received a ransom note via their online portal. This email, if you will, mentioned details never made public at this point. They mentioned Nancy's Apple Watch, what she was wearing on the night she went missing, intimate descriptions of the inside of her home, and a floodlight in her backyard. It also demanded that millions of dollars be paid via Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency information on how to pay was provided. There were also two deadlines, 5 p.m. on Thursday, February 5th, and Monday, February 9th. Now, this was immediately reported to the Sheriff's Department, who asked the FBI to assist in tracking down the author of the note. At the same time, investigators asked the news organization to refrain from sharing the full contents of the letter with the public in order to maintain the integrity of the investigation, and to hopefully prevent imposters from using the details of the letter for profit. But the very next day, on February 3rd, celebrity news website TMZ reported receiving a series of correspondence from a potential kidnapper as well. These were apparently addressed to the founder, Harvey Levin, and the correspondence was similar to the note that KOLD got demanding millions of dollars in Bitcoin. The author added, though, that TMZ would have no way of contacting them, and that Nancy was scared but alive and aware of the demands. This information, of course, again, was also passed along to law enforcement, who was still trying to sort everything out. Then, on Wednesday, February 4th, Nancy's children made a video addressing the demands and posted it to social media. This video includes Annie, Savannah, and Nancy's son, Cameron.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny and spunky and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you. We love.
Now, this was a very eventful day for the case. According to statements made by the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, Savannah Guthrie takes a private phone call with President Donald Trump, who tells her that federal resources will be used to bring Nancy home. That same day, the Guthrie family began receiving texts with more demands. According to the criminal complaint, shortly after this video was posted, a 42-year-old California man named Derek Calleja texted Annie and Tommaso to discuss Bitcoin and other transactions associated with the ransom. 3 minutes after sending the text, he also attempted to call a family member as well. That call lasted for 9 seconds. Nancy's family turns all of this over to authorities, and they are able to track Calleja through a Gmail email address. When he was apprehended, he admitted to sending the text and said he got the family's information online. He said he just wanted to see if the family would respond. Calleja is now facing federal charges to include making a ransom demand and using interstate phone lines to do so. It's very important to note here that the Department of Justice has confirmed that these demands are not linked to the original February 2nd demands. This appears to have been a cruel hoax. But time was still ticking on that original February 5th deadline. The problem was, no one heard back from the person who sent it. There was no follow-up. So, on the 5th, Savannah Guthrie posted a public plea from her brother Cameron on her Instagram account.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
In addition to this video, the Pima County Sheriff's Department held another press conference. And here we learn a lot. So let's dive in. Sheriff Chris Nanos is at the mic again. He begins by discussing how Nancy's disappearance has deeply impacted her family. Then he begins discussing bringing in the Pima Regional Critical Incident Team to help. It's made up of officers from all different departments around Arizona. He adds that at this point, the FBI is assisting with basically everything. They're there to help analyze evidence, assist with interviews. They're working with them side by side on this and sharing all the information they have between the departments. He says that many items were sent off for testing. And while they are waiting for some to come back, they'd asked for a rush on some of these items, including the blood found on Nancy's doorstep, which he does confirm belongs to Nancy. Nanos adds that while they wait for more evidence to be processed, they're sifting through countless leads, and he assures everyone that every single lead is being looked at. He also makes it clear that they do not have any persons of interest, suspects, or primary suspects at this time. He said they just weren't there yet. Then he presents the first official timeline for Nancy's case, with brand new information never heard before.
I'll go over it with you. You can see it on the board there, but at about 5:32 p.m., these are approximate times. 5:32 p.m., Nancy travels to her local family's home for dinner and playing games with the family, and just visiting. At 9:48 p.m., which is very consistent to what we were told by the family, that Nancy was dropped off at home, and we know that because we have a garage door open at approximately, I can't stress that enough, at approximately 9:48 p.m. At 9:50 p.m., that garage door closes, which is that time we assume that Nancy's home and probably going to bed. Sunday morning, early morning at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera, but there's no video available. They had no subscription, and therefore it would rewrite itself. It just kind of loops, right, and covers up. That's what our analysis teams have told us. We're not done with that. We'll do all we can, but that's what it says. So it detects a person on camera. Could that be an animal? I imagine it's possible. We don't know that. We just have no video. But we're not giving up on that. 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker app shows that it was a disconnect from the phone. And at 11:56 a.m., the family checks on Nancy and discovers her missing. And at 12:03 p.m., 911 is called in to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. I believe it's about approximately 10 minutes later, 12 minutes later, our patrol teams arrive. They see the scene, and we start our response with our search and rescue teams and our detectives from homicide and various units. In fact, every unit here, I think somebody questioned, how come there's an ICAC member out here or this member? Everybody in our criminal investigations team is a part of this team and part of this investigative effort.
So we learned some pretty important information about Nancy's video doorbell system, as well as her pacemaker app. But at this point, the details are still pretty fuzzy. I mean, this is only day 5, and they are keeping a lot from the public at this point. But Nanos goes on to say that they can't confirm if any cameras were destroyed around the home. He doesn't know where that information is coming from, but it's not something he'll confirm at this time. He does confirm that Nancy's vehicle was taken for processing, and all the searches of her home and vehicle are just standard practice. He also answers one of the most sought-after questions at this point. Did they interview the Uber driver who took Nancy to her daughter's house that night? And Nanos confirmed that they did. But that's all he says at this time. It really seems clear, at least to me, that he's just trying to answer the most pressing questions and clear up rumors about the case. Mind you, these are all prepared answers, not questions he's taking from reporters at this point. It seems that they're really trying to get ahead of the gossip mill, which has been churning like crazy. He also addresses the rumor that a perpetrator forced their way into Nancy's home, and says that's not information they're discussing at this time. Then, about 11 minutes into the conference, he hands it over to Heath Yonke. He's the assistant agent in charge at the FBI Tucson office. Agent Yonke promptly announces a $50,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of Nancy Guthrie and/or the arrest of anyone involved with her disappearance. Then he discusses specifically what the FBI has been doing to find Nancy. He says they brought in teams from all around the country and even Quantico to assist. Their focus is really a digital footprint, getting any information they can from places like banks, social media companies, phone companies, and whatever else they can get their hands on to try to solve this case. He also says that his team will be back at Nancy's home today, and specifically asked for the media to give their agents some space. At this point, they've been camping out at Nancy's house for about a week. Then he addresses the ransom letter.
Next, regarding the ransom letter. We are aware of a ransom letter that was sent to the local media and then to national outlets. As with every lead, we are taking it seriously. We are in communication with the family, and while we advise and recommend from a law enforcement perspective, any action taken on any ransom is ultimately decided by the family. Thank you to those in the community that have called in tips. For anyone out there that may have information, no matter how small you think it may be, please report it. You can do so by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at Tips.FBI.GOV. My next message is to those imposters who are trying to take advantage and profit from this situation. We will investigate and ensure you are held accountable for your actions. We have made one arrest related to an imposter ransom demand, and a complaint will be presented to a magistrate judge later today. You will get more on that from the FBI and our U.S. Attorney's Office here in Arizona when it becomes available.
That was the arrest of Derek Calleja that I told you about earlier. Yonke ends his statements by making a public plea for whoever did this to return Nancy safely. The rest of the conference, about 30 minutes, is just taking questions from reporters. So Sheriff Nanos returns to the mic. The first few questions are focused on the about 45-minute window between a person being detected on the camera and Nancy's pacemaker app losing connection. He reiterates again that the tech company they've been working with has run out of ways to recover any video from Nancy's doorbell camera. But he does say it's reasonable to believe that whoever did this was on Nancy's property in that 45-minute window. I know it's just common sense, but it's just really nice when law enforcement confirms it. He is also asked if they're leaving out information that's swaying them in a particular direction, and he gives a very vague answer about the department conducting investigations since 1865, and says he'll leave that up to the reporter to decide. He's asked if he believes that they should have brought in all these resources sooner. A question that really honestly puzzled me given the swift and massive response to Nancy being reported missing. But you can hear his answer for yourself.
Now that you are having such an injection of manpower from the Pima critical incident team and the FBI, we could slow to bring that in at the outset should all of these resources be brought to bear sooner.
I guess that, it's Monday morning quarterbacking. I do it all the time, so you have the opportunity to do it for me. I'll take that hit.
While Nano says that he won't answer questions about the ransom note, he does confirm that he's not aware of any proof of life being provided. He also confirms that they have not located the doorbell camera that was removed from Nancy's home on the night that she went missing, and discusses the complication of verifying video in the age of AI technology. Then he's asked a question that made the internet run wild. He's asked if anyone Nancy was with on Saturday night has been ruled out. Basically, her daughter Annie and son-in-law Tommaso.
Yeah, sir. Michael Rose from Fox Digital. Sheriff, you said you've identified no suspects. Have you ruled out anyone she was with on Saturday night?
You know, we've talked to so many. I'm sure that my investigators have feelings about this one's clear or this one isn't. But no, I wouldn't say anybody's ruled out yet, because what if I rule you out and then later I learn something else? No.
Then a question comes in for John Edwards from the Phoenix division of the FBI. He hasn't spoken yet, but he was introduced. He's asked if they'll be submitting DNA for genetic genealogy testing to see if it could belong to a relative. He says that while the Pima County Sheriff's Department is handling the DNA right now, if they get to that point, yes, the FBI would assist. Then Agent Yonke gets another turn of the microphone when they're asked about him being seen walking into Annie Guthrie's home with a tripod.
Arizona Republic, Richard Relas.
Agent Yonke?
Yes.
We saw on the scene, I believe it was you, taking a tripod into the home of the sister. How involved was the FBI, if at all, in creating the video? Any advice?
I would say we use our expertise and provide consultation and advice anytime a family would ask for our advice in a kidnapping. It's ultimately the family's decision of what they put out and any messages they put out. But we were, obviously, you're all documenting every move we make. We were there last night in talking with the family. But every decision is theirs.
So it does appear that the FBI assisted the Guthrie family in creating the video I played of Savannah, Annie, and Cameron for you earlier. Or at least provided a tripod. At about the 27-minute mark, Nanos discusses their efforts to raise awareness through a series of billboards on every state highway in Arizona, as well as the neighboring states. They are pressed again about assistance given to the family to create their video, and Nanos just brushes it off. Then Troy Hayden takes the mic. He's kind of notorious here in Arizona. He's a local reporter, he's been around for a very long time, and it's really no surprise to any of us locals that he asked the million-dollar question that most of the public was wondering. Were they investigating Nancy's son-in-law, Tommaso?
KPNX, Troy Hayden.
Are you actively investigating the son-in-law in this case? So there were reports earlier this week, and you refuted that. But you said you haven't eliminated everybody. Have you eliminated him or come close to it, or are you actively looking at him?
We're actively looking at everybody we come across in this case. Everybody. We would be irresponsible if we didn't talk to everybody. The Uber driver, the gardener, the pool person, whoever, everybody. It's so cliche, but everybody's still a suspect in our eyes. That's just how we look at things and think as cops. Does that mean we have a prime suspect? No, and the family's been very cooperative. They've done everything we've asked of them, and we want that relationship to continue. And sometimes people can be mean out there, and that can really harm us and harm our efforts.
So that seems like a yes, kind of. Either way, then they dive into how long it will be for the rest of the forensic testing to come back. He says that even with a rush, these things can take a couple of days. But they expect the rest to be done within 10 to 20 days, which in my experience is still extremely fast compared to most cases. It was crystal clear that Nancy's case was not just a priority for this department, but it was the priority for most departments throughout the entire state of Arizona. Now, this press conference is almost an hour long, and I promise I'm trying to keep it brief. But as you can see, this is a department who is keeping things close to the vest, and likely for good reason. But when they speak, I think it's important that we listen. So in the rest of the conference, Nanos confirmed that there was no other blood found in the home besides the drops on the porch/front step. They continue to be pressed about their involvement in the video released by the Guthries. And they confirm that there's been no further correspondence with the author of the ransom note with a 5 p.m. deadline for that very day. Then they ask a question that truly stunned me. Nanos is asked if he had any communication with Mexican authorities. And he says no. For anyone who may not know, Tucson, Arizona is about an hour and a half from the border of Mexico. We are a border state. So typically in cases of suspected abduction, like Nancy Guthrie, checking with officials at the border is just regular protocol. But for some reason, 5 days in, they have just about every agent in the state, a multi-state plan to raise awareness via billboards, agents hundreds of miles away in Virginia working on this, but no one has picked up the phone to communicate with Mexican authorities to check their surveillance for Nancy Guthrie. But Nanos doesn't really tell us more than that. We just know that they have not been in communication about this case thus far. I mean, even Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, was briefed on this case. Donald Trump knows about this case, but they haven't spoken to authorities less than 2 hours away in Mexico. Given how they've gone above and beyond for Nancy's case in ways that we really rarely seen, this just really shocked me. But moving on, Nanos also confirms that there were multiple cameras inside of Nancy's home, and he can't confirm which camera detected movement. He says he believes it's a possibility that Nancy was targeted, and backtracks any statements he made previously stating he believed that she absolutely was. Now his stance is that she may or may not have been targeted. As far as motive, he says our guesses are as good as his at this point. Then he asks the media to give them space as they continue the investigation. And then the press conference ends. Despite the pleas for space during the investigation in the disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the media and public persisted. We've seen this in cases like this before. Cases like Gabby Petito, Abby Williams, and Liberty German, and more. People camped out day and night to be the person that breaks the next big story in the case. Every action made a headline, story, or viral video. Like you heard in the press conference, the FBI knew that all eyes were on them, and every agent coming in and out of that house. Everyone was being watched. But it didn't stop any of the madness. The day after the press conference, on February 6th, there was another ransom note. This one was also sent to KOLD just like the first one. In this note, there were no new demands and no proof of life, but they did provide information to prove that they were the same person who sent the first correspondence. However, according to reporting by Brianna Whitney for AZ Family, investigators quickly realized that it came from a different IP address than the first note, though both used encrypted servers. We'll get into that more later. On the 7th, the Guthrie siblings, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron, posted another video.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
The final deadline for the ransom note was quickly approaching, and the media was covering every development, every anonymous source, every person who said they knew Nancy, Savannah, or anyone else in the family. Rumors were swirling about who the author could be and the possible motives. Did they even know Nancy? Did they want money from her daughter Savannah? Or was it someone closer to home? Like I told you earlier, the million-dollar question revolves around Nancy's family being involved in the abduction, specifically Annie or Tommaso. I've seen much less speculation around Savannah. Reddit forums filled with theories of jealousy of her success, life insurance policies, accidents, or just outright evil deeds. And I don't think the press conference helped much, if I'm being honest. Sheriff Nanos gave a few direct answers, but he spent most of the conference answering questions from reporters that just sparked more questions. Why weren't they focusing on Mexico when it was so close? If there were multiple cameras, where was the footage? And on the 7th, another huge question was, what were they doing at Annie Guthrie's home for nearly 3 hours? Like so many things in this case, we don't know much. Just that a few hours after that video was posted to Savannah's Instagram, officials were at Annie and Tommaso's home searching it, and it appeared that the focus was the garage. On the 8th, they were back at Nancy's home focusing on the perimeter, and it appeared that they were searching her septic tank. And then, it was Monday the 9th, the final deadline listed in the ransom note. On that day, Savannah posted another video to her Instagram.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt, because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
As you heard, there's no mention of the ransom note, the deadline, communication with the author. She doesn't address it at all. So that deadline comes and goes. We know how this case is. There's a lot happening at the same time. That same day, the sheriff's department announced that they would have a deputy stationed outside of Nancy's home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the foreseeable future for, quote, security purposes, end quote. This was really the pivotal day that everyone was waiting for in this case. What would happen after this final deadline? Well, as far as the note goes, it doesn't seem that really anything happened. But the following day was the real bombshell. On Tuesday, February 10th, despite everything we heard in that press conference less than a week ago, the Pima County Sheriff's Department announced that they do have video from Nancy's doorbell camera, showing a man wearing a mask attempting to tamper with the camera. But we'll have to dig into that next time on Voices for Justice in Part 2 of this case. Because trust me, we are just getting started. As a reminder, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was last seen in her home in Tucson, Arizona on January 31st, 2026. She is white, 5'4", about 150 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. Anyone with information is asked to call the FBI at 1-800-225-5324. You can also submit a tip online anonymously at Tips.FBI.GOV or directly to the Pima County Sheriff's Department at 520-351-4900. But, as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice.
Fabio Sementilli.
Big heart, big voice, big laugh.
A rock star hairstylist who drove a Porsche.
He was like a wizard behind the chair.
Killers came for Fabio in his own backyard.
I would have never in a million years imagined this.
Who could have done this?
The uncertainty of not knowing is a form of agony.
From Sony Music Entertainment and Novel, this is Cut, Color, Kill. Available now on The Binge. Search for it wherever you get your podcasts to start listening today.